For coming. This talk is going to be You Can Speak at PyCon. Presenting is going to be Anna Martelli Ravenscroft, so let's give a warm welcome to Anna.
Thank you all for showing up after lunch. Hopefully I'll be able to keep you awake. I am a member of the PSF, and I'm also on the program committee for PyCon and OSCON, and have been on EuroPython and a few others. So I've been doing the reviews and things for a while. And I wanted to make sure that everyone who comes to PyCon knows that this is a community conference, and that means that you are part of what makes this a great conference, both by attending and asking questions, and by actually getting up and sharing what you know about Python, what you do about Python with the rest of us. I have a question. How many people have actually spoken at PyCon? Lightning talks? Okay. Great. How many have submitted proposals that didn't speak? Okay. And how many have spoken at other conferences? All right. Woohoo! How about user groups? Okay, good. So that gives me an idea of what my audience here is. I want to talk about, first off, the typical conference cycle. We're all here at PyCon watching really cool talks and getting inspired and saying, hey, you know, I should give a talk next year. And then typically we kind of forget about it until July when the CFP opens, the call for proposals, and say, oh yeah, I wanted to give a talk, I should think of something. And then we think of something and submit the proposal the last week, or the last day, or sometimes the last hour, and the CFP closes, and then reviewers do their work, and we might get notified that we're accepted or not, and then we forget about it again until the week before the conference, or sometimes the day before the conference, or sometimes the morning of our talk. This is the typical schedule. That's what a lot of people do. Here's the timeline for the call for proposals for PyCon. You have, it opens in July and closes in September. Reviewing happens, actually, reviewing starts in July as soon as we've got any kind of a proposal. Reviewers start looking at it. And it continues through November, and often, yes, we are working Thanksgiving week. And then we try and get the notifications sent out the first week of December. We try by December 1st, sometimes it slides a little bit. The review process is 3 stages. We have voting online on the reviews, +1, -1, +0, -0. And then we can give feedback to the presenter and ask questions. We give explanations of why we voted the way we did. And then we have IRC meetings. We have Kitten Dome, which is for discussing the proposal as a proposal. Does this seem like a good proposal for PyCon at all in isolation? And then Thunderdome, where proposals that are similar topics get grouped together, and we decide which of those proposals we're going to actually accept. Some of the criteria that reviewers use, reviewing is very subjective. We're all just other Pythonistas, just like you. You can join the reviewing group if you want. We'd love to have you. These are some of the criteria that people do use for deciding whether or not it should be a talk at PyCon. So I want to talk about how to improve your chances of actually getting a talk here. The first one there is, don't wait until the CFP comes out to start thinking about it. Start thinking about it now. Start finding a topic that you want to talk about, and then start preparing so that when the CFP comes out, you're ready to hit the ground running. So first off, finding a topic. How many people have never submitted a proposal to PyCon? How many of you did that because you didn't know what you would talk about? Okay. PyLadies and some user groups provide proposal writing workshops, which is great. They're brainstorming sessions on what kind of talks you might want to give, what kind of topics. But think about, what do you do with Python? You use Python in a different way than I do, in a different way from anyone else does. And that's valuable to us to be able to share with each other. So these are some questions to think about. The slides are online, so you can grab them. The big thing I want you to keep in mind, people tend to think, people who are actually up here speaking are the ones who say, oh, I've heard of such and such, I should give a talk on that. Where a lot of people who've never spoken think, well, I'm not the expert on that, so I can't submit a proposal. You don't have to be the expert on that package. You don't have to be the person who wrote the package, who wrote the book. What you have to be, and that you are, is the person who is the expert on how you use it. The package, the library, the module that you use at home or at work, you are the expert on how you use that. And it might be a really different use from how someone else does, and that is a way that we learn from each other. Some of the coolest talks that have come about have been really off the wall, really weird. One of my favorites was a guy who was using Python for image recognition of pictures from his backyard to detect whether there were squirrels at his bird feeder so he could shoot them with a water cannon. I thought that was awesome. So, don't self-select out. Start talking now about your topic. Do blogging, do lightning talks, unconferences, open spaces, any chance you get to talk about your topic so that you can start to formulate what kinds of questions do people have, what kinds of things do they need to know, what kinds of things can I give them, and then write the talk and give it at other groups. Practice it, give it at user groups, give it at local conferences. I know that ACCU, everybody thinks, oh, that's for C people. ACCU, if you've got a local chapter, it's not just C and C++, it's for programmers in general, and they love to have people come in and give Python-related talks. And if you say, this is the first time I've given this talk, I want a chance to practice it, please give me feedback, they're happy to do that. Which gives you a chance to get the feedback to improve your talk. You get to ask them, what worked, what did not work, what was confusing, what in the flow didn't really work for you, what could I do better? There's a billion resources out there on improving your presentation skills. There's books, there's blogs, there's YouTube. Look for those, use them. And think beyond the slides. Think about things like body language, about tone of voice, about whether you use a lot, whether you're making statements or asking questions. Add stories and anecdotes to your talks. Add audience participation. Where can you add it that makes sense for your topic? And video is your friend. A lot of these user groups will video your talk. If you can't get that, stick your phone over in the corner and video yourself and look at it and see what things you're doing that work and what doesn't work. That's how you catch those little things like which you want to try to avoid. Submit early, submit often. We talked about the CFP timeline. If you are submitting early when there's only 2 other talks there for the reviewers to look at, the reviewers have lots and lots and lots of time to give you feedback and ask questions so you can refine your talk, your proposal, so that it gets accepted. Submitting at the very end everybody's proposals are out there, and we're in a time crunch to go through hundreds of proposals, and you're not going to get as much feedback. You're not going to get a chance to refine your proposal as much as you could have. Submit multiple talks. I know that this year we had one guy submitted, I think, 3 different talks on the same topic from slightly different angles for different audiences, and what we ended up doing was accepting one talk, having him roll some of the other into the first talk, and then deciding the third one just sounded like a sales pitch and we didn't want it. Submitting to multiple venues, the more chances you get to talk about this stuff, the better you are. The more you talk in front of people, the better and more comfortable you'll be giving presentations. This is the feedback that I talked about. Make sure we have a good address, a way to reach you. Make sure and let us know if you're going to be on vacation for 2 weeks after you submit the proposal. Tell us so that we can not be expecting immediate response from you. Once you submit your proposal, keep an eye out for feedback. There will be questions from reviewers saying, I'm sorry, I don't understand, what packages are you going to be covering here, or whatever. Whatever questions they have, please respond promptly. That gets you points with reviewers if you're responsive. And modify the proposal as you see fit, based on reviewer input. So based on that, what I was talking about, here's what I think is the ideal conference cycle. And this is something that I have seen people do to great success. So we're at PyCon, everybody's excited. Everybody here wants to speak next year, right? All right. So you think of a topic here at PyCon or next week when you get home. You start blogging about it and doing talks about it, so by the time the CFP opens, you're ready to submit your proposal the first week. You get lots of reviewer feedback so that you can modify it, so that by the time it comes to Kitten Dome, you've got reviewers on your side, knowing that you're excited, responsive, you know what you're talking about. You get a chance, you get up there and you write the presentation early so you can practice it at user groups, and then you can rock PyCon. Now, this is what I would like to see from all of you for this next year, is to be preparing in advance so that you're ready when July hits. Here's how proposal submission actually works at PyCon. I'm not giving you a screen cap because it changes a little bit every year. These are the kinds of things that you're going to need on your proposal. What I do is I put it in a document, write it all up, and then copy and paste it into the form. So we'll talk about each of these. The title needs to be short and catchy, but not so catchy that it obscures the meaning. You want people to have some idea what the talk's about. And you want it to be short enough that it's not 5 lines on guidebook. The description, 50 words. There's a listing there of how long it needs to be, 40, 50 words, something like that. This is the summary that's going to show up in guidebook for the audience. This is what tells us whether we want to attend the talk, us audience members, us attendees. So what's the talk about? Who's the intended audience and what's in it for me? Why should I attend this talk when there's like a lot of really awesome talks, a lot of tracks going on? This is the meat of the proposal for reviewers, the abstract. This is not just what's it about, but gives us an idea that you've really thought this through. I remember a proposal that I saw on video imaging, and it was a really cool proposal, except it didn't mention Python anywhere in the proposal. And nobody had any idea why they were submitting it to PyCon, because there was nothing about Python packages or anything. I happen to know the person submitting the proposal, so I asked her to update the proposal to actually mention Python. If it's not obvious, please explain here how it actually belongs at PyCon. The timing. Is your topic too broad for the 30-minute slot that you've got? Is it too narrow? Is it some little thing that you could maybe, give a lightning talk on? So this is the kinds of things that reviewers are going to be looking for, and you need to address in your abstract so people understand that you've got a talk that will fit the time space you've requested. In order to show that you know how to use your time, have an outline. If you don't have an outline, they're going to ask you for one. So just put it in there to start with. A rough outline of your talk. Topic headers with appropriate timing. I'm going to do an intro for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to do point 1 for 5 minutes, point 2 for 7 minutes, and point 3 for 3 minutes, and then a conclusion, and then Q&A. We're not going to hold you to it. Nothing is written in stone. This is just so we have an idea that you actually know how long you're going to be speaking about it and what you're going to be doing with the time. The bio. We need to know that you are the right person to give this talk. The bio is where you let us know that. It's not just for the attendees. Now, and also don't assume that all the reviewers know you, because we have new reviewers come on board every year, and they don't know everyone. Even some of the famous names, not everybody is going to know them. They're not going to know you. Let us know who you are. If there's something that is relevant to your talk, but you don't really want it in the bio or you don't want it in the abstract, put it in notes to reviewers. This is where you tell people, I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, so I'll be responding to feedback after August 8th. This is where you say that I'm going to be addressing package X, Y, and Z rather than leaving it as a surprise. I've had talks where they wanted to surprise the attendees. That's great. You can do dramatic effect, that's wonderful, but you need to not surprise the reviewers. The reviewers need to not have to guess what packages you're going to be covering, what frameworks, what modules. So if you're comparing modules, we need to know that there's more than 2. Or if there is 2, then say that so we know. Things to avoid. We do not want a sales pitch at PyCon. We are really good at recognizing them even when they try to masquerade as a talk. We're not perfect, but we're pretty darn good. So don't do a sales pitch. Typing instead of slides and internet-required talks, both we want to know that you've got a backup in case we don't have internet for you. And we don't want you sitting there typing into the terminal to run something. Nobody can see it in the back. Have slides or some way to show people. Have it queued up so that you can just hit a button and there it goes. Code of conduct violations. The edginess of your talk should be related to the technology, not to the visuals on your slides. Read the code of conduct, abide by it. It's just to make it more pleasant for all of us. Case studies and proprietary products, we need to know that the audience is going to actually get something out of the talk that they can use, not just cheerleading for your product. 45-minute talks have a higher bar to jump through than other talks. If you're submitting a talk, submit a 30-minute talk. Unless you really, 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 truly need 45 minutes, and then you better have a really good outline. And you did the correct goat sacrifice at the full moon, okay? Live demos tend to bite people in the wrong way. So be real careful about any live demos, just because they can go very, very wrong. If your talk isn't accepted, please do not take it personally. It's not about you, it's the fact that we have hundreds and hundreds of talks. Luke, how many talks did we have this time to go through? 618, and we have under 100 slots. We actually added a track this year because we had so many talks, but we have to narrow it down to like 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. So if we don't take your talk, it's not because your talk sucked and you suck too. It's about we've got to balance how many Django talks, how many talks on best practices, community, all of those things. Consider doing a poster or a lightning talk or an open space. Posters are really good if it's a new technology, a new product or package that you're working on that really nobody's really played with it out in the wild and you really want to get it out there so people know about it. Use a poster, submit a poster proposal for that. If you've submitted a proposal for a talk and it didn't get accepted, you can resubmit it as a poster and you may be getting accepted for that, and then you can get the info out there, and then you can develop for the next year to do a talk. And try again next year, maybe on this topic or maybe on another topic, or both. More submissions are good. You can submit on 2 different topics. I did this year. One of them got accepted, one didn't. The important thing that I really want to get across to everyone here is you are our speaker pool. We want all of you to submit proposals because the more of you that submit proposals, the better the pool is for us to accept talks and to find a way to make the best program that we can make. If you don't submit a proposal, we're never going to be able to get your input. And we really want that. We really need that at PyCon to make it the best PyCon it could possibly be for everyone. So, questions. I want to hear from people who have not submitted a proposal. What are some things that have held you back? And there's a mic here. Or if you have questions, feel free to, I want to hear from people.
If you have a question, go ahead and line up behind the mic here. If you're way over here, you can come to me.
Hi, it's Shay Silverman. I had a question about how you're saying the live demos, they can bite you in the behind. I found that when I come to PyCon, I love watching the live demos the most rather than just looking at slides. Is there any way that we could, what would be the best practice for our proposal to say, I have a live demo here and this is how I can assure you that it'll work?
Okay, the best way to do that is you have a presentation that includes a live demo, but that you are going to be able to give people something worthwhile to attend the talk, even if your live demo doesn't work. So this is what it looks like, this slides or whatever, this is what it'll look like, this is how it works, this is how you do it, and here it is, right here, woohoo! But that way, if it doesn't work, they still got something out of the talk.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? What's kept people from submitting talks at PyCon? I want to hear from you. Really, we have lots of time. It never crossed his mind. It's a him? Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that it has crossed your mind now. Other question or reasons?
Well, it's not so much a reason as an encouragement, because I'm part of PyLadies, and we had people from the foundation come and just sit with us and do like proposal ideas and explain how the process worked, and that made it way more easy. I was able to encourage people, like this is very, encouraging kind of thing, and so yeah, I'm actually much more likely. I just couldn't do it this year because of logistics reasons, but next year, totally there.
Yeah. Yeah, PyLadies did do some, not just locally, but on IRC, I believe. Some great, and those aren't just for ladies. Everyone is welcome to attend those sessions. Those usually happen after the CFP opens, I believe. But feel free at your local groups, your user groups, to get together and have a brainstorming session when you get back this month for PyCon proposal ideas. That's a way of bouncing ideas off each other and saying, well, I've got this weird idea. Does anyone think this is interesting? Because that's another hump that people have to get over, is thinking, well, yeah, I could talk about that, but nobody wants to hear about that. And then somebody else hears it and, oh my God, that's the coolest thing. I really needed to know about that. Others, you've got somebody here, yes.
One thing, I didn't know that the call for proposals was open until the last day when it was posted on Hacker News. Like, oh, today's the last day to post something to PyCon. So it was like, oh, I better figure something out. So it'd be kind of cool if that was like posted in, more places when it opens rather than just on the site.
Please, if you subscribe to Python Announce list, it's posted there. It's posted as many places as we can think of, but please get onto the list so that you can post it at other places. We encourage more people to get involved so that the more you see it,
The
more people know.
PyCon Twitter channel.
Yeah.
I have a mischievous question.
Yes.
If anyone here is interested in reviewing talks, could you talk about the process for being part of that group?
The process for that is you email one of us, any of us, me or who is it, Jacob, or pretty much anybody. You go up to the green room and ask and say, I want to help review, and we will say, oh, hooray, here's how you sign up, and now you're a reviewer. That's how hard it is.
If you were a reviewer last year, are you still a reviewer? Do you need to reapply?
If you were a reviewer last year, an email will go out when it's time to everybody whose current pool of reviewers saying, do you want to do it again this year? And you say yes. And if we don't hear from you or you say no, then we assume you're not going to be a reviewer. But if you just want to be a reviewer, please just contact us. We'll be glad to have you. The more the merrier, really. Yes?
You said that the 45-minute duration is more competitive than 30 minutes.
Yes.
Are there certain topics or certain skill levels that are also more competitive versus easier to get into?
Not
like, is advanced
really.
harder to, or is,
No.
Django hard?
If you're giving an advanced talk or an extreme talk, make sure that it's really obvious that you're qualified, that you actually know what you're doing so that you're at the level that you can give an advanced talk, but there really isn't a competition for more advanced talks versus intermediate versus novice. That's one of the lesser things that we look at. We tend to look at what the talk's about and whether and balance the topics rather than, we try and make sure there are some advanced talks. And intermediate, we don't have enough intermediate talks. So that's a place where we could use more. And novice talks are always welcome. So yeah, level really doesn't matter. We do have to sometimes avoid turning it into DjangoCon because we get a lot of really cool proposals based on Django, and we don't want all of the talks to be on Django, even though it's a really cool thing. So
Thanks.
next, wait for the mic. Okay, you got the mic. Yay.
So my question is, can you submit videos and things like that with your proposal?
Sorry, say again?
Submit videos with your proposal. So
Okay.
here's a link to a video as part of my proposal.
Yeah, videos is useful to submit with your proposal so that people can see how you are as a speaker. If you're not a known quantity, no one here in the reviewer pool has ever seen you speak, it's nice to see that you can actually get up in front of a crowd and not do the deer in the headlights look and talk in a monotone. We want to see that you can actually get up and speak. You can actually present material in a coherent fashion. So, yes?
Hi. You mentioned that you needed more intermediate talks. Do you have any guidelines about where the lines are drawn between beginner?
No.
Okay.
It's, if you think it is beyond novice, you have to know something about XYZ, but you are not, it's not an advanced talk, then that sounds like an intermediate talk to me.
And when we submit a talk of a certain length, should we block out time for Q&A?
Q&A is pretty much assumed to be 5 minutes at the end of the talk if it's a 30-minute talk, and 10 minutes for a 45-minute talk. I wanted to leave a little more for us to actually have a conversation here. But yeah, we kind of assume you're going to actually do 25 minutes of presentation and 5 minutes of Q&A.
Thank you.
If you don't meet that exactly, no one's going to like come up at you and go, oh my God, you left 7.5 minutes for Q&A. But if you ended up only talking for 15 minutes of the 25, then that might not have been the best use of your time, unless it's leading a discussion kind of talk. Other questions or concerns or reasons that you might not have submitted a proposal in the past? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming.